Live from New Delhi, you're watching ddindia News Hour, India's voice to the world, with me Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. Days after US-Russia talks in Alaska, Ukraine-Zelenskyy to meet US President in Washington, European leaders to join Ukraine President for talks, EU allies press for ceasefire before any peace talks. Ahead of Trump-Zelenskyy talks, US says Putin agreed to security protections for Ukraine as part of potential peace deal. Zelenskyy hails historic US decision to offer security guarantees for Ukraine. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi to arrive in New Delhi on a two-day visit to India to hold special representatives talks on India-China boundary question with NSA Ajit Doval, also to meet his Indian counterpart Dr. S. Jaishankar. Lower House of the Indian Parliament to hold special discussion on India's first astronaut aboard the International Space Station and the critical role of space program for Viksit Bharat by 2047. And in sports, the greats of modern tennis clash again as world number 1 Yannick Sinner takes on Carlos Alcaraz in the final of Cincinnati Open. A very good morning to all the viewers joining us at this morning hourly broadcast. To begin with the US. Well, days after US-Russia talks in Alaska, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy will meet US President Donald Trump in Washington on Monday. Now, this will be Zelenskyy's second visit to the White House with the daunting task of reversing the damage done to Ukraine's security prospects by Friday's Trump-Putin summit in Alaska. However, Zelenskyy will not be alone as he was on his first trip to the White House in February. Well, European leaders will join Ukrainian president for talks. One of the key items on Zelenskyy's agenda in the meeting is securing solid security guarantees from the US leader, something the US officials say is a real possibility after months of downplaying the potential. Zelenskyy, who has long expressed desires to join NATO or to achieve meaningful security guarantees from Washington and Europe's coalition of the willing, said the issue will be up front when he meets with Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy arrived in Washington on Sunday to hold talks with the US President. Zelenskyy, upon his arrival in Washington, expressed hope that the joint strength with the United States and European counterparts will compel Russia to peace. The Ukrainian president, in a social media post, thanked the US President for the invitation. He said, and I quote him here, "We all share a strong desire to end this war quickly and reliably," unquote. US President Donald Trump late on Sunday said that Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelenskyy could choose to end the conflict with Russia almost immediately, but retaking Crimea or joining NATO are off the table. On the eve of White House meeting with the Ukrainian president and the European leaders, Trump in a social media post said, and I quote him, "President Zelenskyy of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight. No getting back Obama given Crimea 12 years ago without a shot being fired, and no going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never change," unquote. Now, European leaders from Germany, France, Britain and others will accompany President Zelenskyy to Washington for crucial talks with Donald Trump. And ahead of the visit, Zelenskyy met European Union Chief Ursula von der Leyen in Brussels and joined a coalition of the willing video call with the allies. Now, this follows Trump relaying Putin's proposal to freeze front lines if Kyiv cedes Donetsk, an offer Zelenskyy firmly rejected. Rapindra Chauhan has more. Take a look.
European leaders from Germany, France and Britain will accompany Volodymyr Zelenskyy to meet Donald Trump in Washington. Those who will join Zelenskyy for Washington talks include French President Emmanuel Macron, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. On Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy visited Brussels to meet European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The EU chief stressed that international border cannot be changed by force.
With regards to any territorial questions in Ukraine, our position is clear. International borders cannot be changed by force. These are decisions to be made by Ukraine and Ukraine alone. And these decisions cannot be taken without Ukraine at the table.
While Ukraine's Zelenskyy pushed for final deal through real negotiation, Zelenskyy also insisted on concrete security guarantees for Ukraine.
Since the territorial issue is so important, it should be discussed only by the leaders of Ukraine and Russia at the trilateral Ukraine, United States, Russia. So far, Russia gives no sign that trilateral will happen, and if Russia refuses, then new sanctions must follow.
Also on Sunday, leaders of Britain, France and Germany hosted a video call involving Kyiv's allies in a coalition of the willing.
The objective of this meeting very clearly is as well to be completely clear about the security guarantees we want, the next steps, and how to organize the next meetings with President Putin, Ukraine, US and Europeans.
German government, which confirmed Merz's attendance, said it would emphasize the interest in a swift peace agreement in Ukraine. Following his meeting with Putin in Alaska, Trump told Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy on Friday that Putin had offered to freeze most front lines if Kyiv ceded all of Donetsk, a demand rejected by Zelenskyy. Trump also said he agreed with Putin that a peace deal should be sought without the prior ceasefire that Ukraine and its European allies had demanded. Rabindra Chauhan for DD India.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will travel to Washington for meetings with the US President Donald Trump, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and other European leaders on Monday. Now, according to the statement issued by UK's Prime Minister's office on Sunday, at the meeting that will take place at the White House, UK Prime Minister, with other European partners, stands ready to support this next phase of further talks and will reaffirm that his backing for Ukraine will continue as long as it takes. UK Prime Minister has welcomed the openness of the United States alongside Europe to provide robust security guarantees to Ukraine as part of any deal. The United Kingdom has stated that this is important progress and will be crucial in deterring Putin from coming back for more. French President Emmanuel Macron said that the call for Monday's talks in Washington between US President Donald Trump and Ukraine's Zelenskyy is to present a united front between Ukraine and its European allies. He said there can be no territorial discussion regarding Ukraine without the legitimate, democratically elected leaders of Ukraine.
Ultimately, our desire tomorrow is to present a united front between Europeans and Ukrainians at this moment of conflict resolution, reaffirming who is on the side of peace, who is on the side of international law. But above all, how can we collectively ensure that the international order is respected and that our collective security is protected, because the security of Europeans and France depends on it. There can be no territorial discussion regarding Ukraine without the legitimate, democratically elected leaders of Ukraine. No discussion about Ukraine without the Ukrainians. But in the same way, there can be no discussion about the European security without them.
French President Emmanuel Macron has said that Ukraine may ultimately have to recognize the loss of some of its territories as part of a potential peace settlement with Russia. He added that it will not recognize that they are under anyone else's sovereignty, but will recognize their loss through military action. US President Donald Trump could offer NATO-like protection to Ukraine, and Russia is open to the idea, one of his top foreign policy officials said on Sunday ahead of the meeting with Ukraine and the European leaders. US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff said Trump and Putin had reached an unexpected understanding that the United States and European allies could extend NATO-style security guarantees to Ukraine. He added it was the first time Russia had agreed in principle to such an agreement.
It means that the United States is potentially prepared to be able to give Article 5 security guarantees, but not from NATO, directly from the United States and other European countries. That is big. I mean, really big.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy hailed US President Donald Trump's historic decision to offer Ukraine security guarantees if peace deal is reached with Russia, while dismissing suggestions that Kyiv might cede territory to Moscow. European leaders also backed the development. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron praised Trump's apparent willingness to provide guarantees and pledged support for a reassurance force once hostilities cease. Now, Germany and the European Commission joined Zelenskyy in affirming that borders cannot be redrawn by force. And to get you more on this, I'm joined by ddindia correspondent Amrit Singh on the phone line. Good morning, Amrit. Now, all eyes will be on today's Trump-Zelenskyy meeting that has a lot on stake for many other countries as well. Looking at how the meeting panned with Putin earlier, can we expect a breakthrough today, Amrit?
Both yes and no, Deepika. Yes, as in there would be some progress made because there was a long phone call between President Trump and President Zelenskyy after that Alaska meeting between Trump and Putin. And the European leaders also joined in. So there is some kind of understanding that is developing. But as Mark Rubio said on the ABC interview yesterday, that a peace agreement in the short term remains elusive. So I would say breakthrough, yes, in the sense that there would be forward movement, or there could be forward movement, because both sides seem now amenable, by both sides I mean Russia and Ukraine, to make some concessions, and these are the kind of noises that we are hearing from the Europeans as well, who were earlier adamant on their security guarantees. But I think there is some kind of an understanding that is being achieved, and it's really important, significant what Steve Witkoff has said, that a NATO-like Article 5 guarantee has emerged, or there is some consensus emerging on that short of Ukraine joining the NATO, but some guarantee be put in place, and Putin seems to be amenable to that. So in that sense, forward movement, but a peace agreement at this meeting, no. I think what they're trying to do is lay the ground for a trilateral meeting or a quadrilateral meeting between the Russians, the Ukrainians, with the Americans and Europeans in attendance.
Now, U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff said that Putin had agreed to a possible NATO-like security pact for Ukraine. But on the other hand, Amrit, Moscow also says that they also need credible security assurances. Having considered so many previous round of talks as well, what could be that underlining force that may make it happen if it happens, Amrit? My
understanding, Deepika, is that short of joining, joining the NATO, the Ukrainians would be given some kind of assurance that there will be no further territorial gains by the Russians. Now, what do the Russians have? They control Crimea. They control most of Donbass. Donetsk is about, 3/4 of Donetsk is with them. Fully is with them. So I think the Russians would step back a bit on the land deal, but keep some of that. President Zelenskyy would have to agree to that. But further guarantee provided to both the Ukrainians and the Europeans that Russians would make no further territorial gains. If that is violated, then not the NATO per se, but some what they call the coalition of the willing, the Americans, some of the European players will come into play. So I think that would emerge. That would be what the underlying force could be. But the contours of that are still in the works.
Also, Amrit, how is it going to impact the current economic turmoil marred by tariffs?
Oh, if this breaks, Mark Rubio is very clear on that in the various interviews that he's given since yesterday, that if they walk away without a peace deal, then the sanctions would continue. For us, for the Indians, that would be a matter of concern, because then if the Russian oil keeps flowing, secondary sanctions from the Americans would come into place. So, then the things go into further dizzy than they already are. Deepika.
All right. Thank you so much, Amrit, for joining us and bringing us the latest on the upcoming very important meeting. Now, Air Canada on Sunday suspended its plan to resume flights over a strike by flight attendants that has effectively shut down the airline and snarled summer travel for its passengers around the world. The announcement came despite the country's Industrial Relations Board ordering an end to the strike by around 10,000 flight attendants, which had prompted the airline to say it would resume flying on Sunday. The flag carrier, in a statement, said the airline will resume flights from Monday evening. The Canadian Union of Public Employees, which is representing the workers, sought wage increases as well as to address uncompensated groundwork, including during the boarding process. In a statement on Sunday, CUPE's Air Canada unit said the strike would continue. The union urged the passengers not to go to the airport if they had a ticket for Air Canada or its lower-cost subsidiary Air Canada Rouge. CUPE earlier slammed the Canadian government's intervention as rewarding Air Canada's refusal to negotiate fairly by giving them exactly what they wanted. Meanwhile, Air Canada passengers faced lengthy delays at Ottawa International Airport on Sunday. Stranded passengers expressed frustration with the strike, calling the unexpected hotel stays due to flight cancellations stressful and costly.
It's super stressful, of course, and very expensive, having to stay 3 extra nights in a hotel than we were planning on. Obviously, we know in the big scheme of things, it's not the hugest problem in the world, and we do support what the flight attendants are trying to achieve, but it's very stressful nonetheless.
All right, let's take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Israeli president meets with the family of Nepalese student who got abducted by Hamas, extends support. Stay with us for a quick roundup on the massive devastation caused by wildfires across Europe. And 40 people reported to be missing as a boat capsized in northwestern Sokoto state in Nigeria, 10 rescued so far.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Updates from West Asia now. Massive crowds took to the streets across Israel on Sunday to urge the government end the Gaza conflict and reach a ceasefire deal to secure the release of hostages held by Hamas. The protests began on Sunday morning in multiple cities. Demonstrators blocked highways and major routes between the cities, bringing traffic to a standstill, while holding placards, beating drums, and chanting to voice their demands. The largest crowd was seen in Tel Aviv's Hostage Square, with the organizers saying the government's plan to seize control of Gaza City risked the lives of around 20 hostages still being held by Hamas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu slammed the protesters, saying their actions not only hardened Hamas's position and would only slow down the release of the hostages. Israeli President Isaac Herzog met with the family of Bipin Joshi, a Nepalese student who was studying agriculture in Israel when he was abducted by Hamas on 7th of October 2023. Bipin's mother and sister were joined in the meeting by Nepal's ambassador to Israel, Dhan Prasad Pandit. The president offered his support for Bipin's family during the terrible ordeal they are enduring and stressed the urgent humanitarian cause of returning the hostages. Bipin's family thanked Israel and the Israeli president for giving them hope. They also appealed to the international community to make an effort for the safe return of all the remaining hostages. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung has ordered his cabinet to prepare a partial, step-by-step implementation of existing agreements with North Korea. Lee did not specify which agreement he was referring to, but the president said that Seoul intends to restore a 2018 agreement that has since fallen apart to suspend some military activity along the border with North Korea. Lee said during a cabinet meeting on Monday that relations between South and North Korea are crucial in order to protect the national interests of South Korea and expand the space to operate diplomatically. Now, since entering office in June, Lee's government has sought to improve relations between the neighbors, though so far top North Korean officials have dismissed in state media overtures taken by the Liberal president. A Hong Kong court is hearing closing arguments in the landmark trial of Jimmy Lai, one of the fiercest critics of the Chinese state. The hearing was delayed twice last week due to bad weather conditions and concerns regarding Lai's health. Lai, a British citizen, is accused of colluding with foreign forces under Hong Kong's controversial national security law and faces life in prison if convicted. Supporters of Lai queued outside the West Kowloon Magistrates Court. The 77-year-old is the founder of pro-democracy publications, including the now-defunct Apple Daily newspaper. US President Donald Trump has vowed to do everything to save Lai, while UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said securing the release of Lai, who is a UK citizen, is a priority. Centrist Senator Rodrigo Paz from the Christian Democratic Party was leading in presidential elections in Bolivia on Sunday. Now, as per the initial results, Paz obtained 32.18% of the votes. The conservative former president, Jorge, from the Free Alliance coalition, was in second place with 26.85% of the votes, while Eduardo del Castillo from MAS secured just 3.16%. The results indicate that the elections would be decided in a second round on the 19th of October if no candidate obtains more than 40% of the votes with a 10 percentage point advantage. The full official results will be reported within 7 days. Voters also elected 26 senators and 130 deputies for Congress. The officials will take office on the 8th of November. Sunday's general elections were defined by soaring inflation and the exclusion of former leftist President Evo Morales, who was barred from running. Around 7 people...
I want to thank, through the homeland, all the men and women who have made it possible, the voice of those who had no voice, of those of us who did not appear in the surveys, of those of us who did not exist. Because what we want is to build a reconciliation of the homeland, reproduction of the homeland. We want to regain productive strength. We need to stabilize, generate governance, and create a change in the economy so that the economy belongs to the people and not the state.
Now, around 7 people were shot dead by unknown gunmen at a pool hall in the Ecuadorian city of Santo Domingo on Sunday. Several attackers opened fire on the victims at the entrance and inside the hall before fleeing. Local media says the massacre may be linked to organized crime. Ecuador has faced years of growing violence as powerful drug cartels expand their control. Police officials are investigating the incident and hunting for those responsible. President Daniel Noboa's government has promised to crack down on the crimes. However, there has been little reduction in the violence in past years. In Nigeria, more than 40 people have gone missing after a boat capsized in northwestern Sokoto state on Sunday. The National Emergency Management Agency said in a statement that the boat that was carrying more than 50 passengers to a market capsized early morning. As of now, about 10 people have been rescued, while more than 40 passengers remain missing. Boat accidents are common on Nigeria's waterways due to overcrowding and poor maintenance, particularly during the annual rainy season. Hurricane Erin has re-intensified into a Category 4 storm on Sunday after completing an eye wall replacement cycle, with the U.S. National Hurricane Center warning of life-threatening surf and rip currents along the U.S. eastern seaboard this week. The first hurricane of what is expected to be a particularly intense Atlantic season, Erin, briefly strengthening into a catastrophic Category 5 storm before its wind speeds weakened. Forecasters do not currently expect it to make landfall along its expected course, but tropical storm warnings are in effect for the southeast Bahamas and Turks and Caicos Islands. While meteorologists have expressed confidence that Erin will remain well off the United States coast, they said the storm could still cause dangerous waves and erosion in places such as North Carolina. Meanwhile, Europe is on the track for worst wildfire season on record amid deadly heat waves. Spain is battling 20 major wildfires fueled by extreme heat exceeding 40 degrees Celsius and strong winds darkening skies with thick smoke in Asturias and complicating firefighters' effort. The blazes, among southern Europe's worst in 20 years, have killed 7 people and scorched hectares of land almost the size of London. Spain's state meteorological agency, AMET, has issued extreme fire risk alerts for Spain's north and west. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, visiting Galicia, warned of difficult days ahead. As Spain enters its third week of heatwave alerts, the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has announced a national pact for the climate emergency.
Tenemos que hacer una reflexión de fondo.
We need to make a fundamental consideration, a strategy that anticipates a better response, one that is more protective and more secure for our fellow citizens in the face of the worsening and accelerating effects of the climate emergency in our country. And that requires a major national pact on the climate emergency that leaves the climate emergency out of the partisan struggles and ideological issues so that we can focus on the scientific evidence and act accordingly. The clear answer to having fires of this magnitude now, to having cold drops like we are having in autumn or winter, is that the climate emergency ravaging the world is accelerating, becoming more serious and more frequent.
Es que la emergencia climática que asola.
Satellite images from the 15th of August, released Sunday, revealed massive wildfires scorching Portugal with thick smoke plumes rising over Porto and Corgas. The Institute for Nature Conservation and Forest reports that 155,000 hectares have burned this year, which is 3 times the 2026-24 average rate, with half of that devastation occurring in the past 3 days itself. Fueled by extreme heat and winds, 8 major fires rage in central and northern Portugal, which is the largest, a tourist destination. Over 4,000 firefighters are deployed, supported by water-carrying helicopters. The government extended a national alert as conditions worsen, with dry thunderstorms forecast. Portugal ranks 3rd in the European Union for burned areas, behind Spain and Romania. Relatives gathered outside a morgue in Pune on Sunday to receive the bodies of the victims of deadly flooding in northwestern Pakistan. As per the National Disaster Management Authority, the death toll from the rains across the mountainous north of Pakistan had risen to at least 337 people on Sunday, with most killed in flash floods. In the area, 207 lives were lost and others are still missing. Munir was hit by a cloudburst, a rare phenomena where more than 100 millimeters of rain falls within an hour in a small area. Officials stated more heavy rain was expected across Pakistan until early September. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. NDA fields Maharashtra Governor C.P. Radhakrishnan as the candidate for vice presidential post. Heavy damage reported to infrastructure in 2 separate incidents of cloudbursts across Jammu and Kashmir. An Indian embassy in New York celebrates India's 79th Independence Day with great fervor.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now to quickly recap the top headlines of the hour. Days after US-Russia talks in Alaska, Ukraine-Zelenskyy to meet US President in Washington, European leaders to join Ukraine President for talks, European Union allies press for ceasefire before any peace talks. Ahead of Trump-Zelenskyy talks, US says Putin agreed to security protections for Ukraine as part of potential peace deal. Zelenskyy hails historic US decision to offer security guarantees for Ukraine. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi to arrive in New Delhi on a two-day visit to India to hold special representatives talks on India-China boundary question with NSA Ajit Dofal, also to meet his Indian counterpart Dr. S. Jaishankar. Lower House of the Indian Parliament to hold special discussion on India's first astronaut aboard the ISS and the critical role of space program for Viksit Bharat by the year 2047. And in sports, the greats of modern tennis clash again as world number 1 Jannik Sinner takes on Carlos Alcaraz in the final of Cincinnati Open. Well, in two separate incidents of cloudbursts early on Sunday in two villages of Kathua district of Jammu and Kashmir, 7 members of 4 families, including 5 children, were killed. Heavy damage took place to the physical infrastructure, including residential houses. The calamity struck Jodhkati village of Rajbagh and Bakra village of Janglote amid heavy overnight rains in the district. Now, this led to an increase in the level of water bodies and submerging many low-lying areas. The army has evacuated 6 injured persons to Image Hospital in Pathankot, while 2 injured are undergoing treatment in Kathua. Army columns on the ground in Kathua rescuing families and giving hope, food and care after the cloudburst. Well, the cloudburst in Kathua came 3 days after flash floods triggered by cloudbursts struck Chashoti village in Kishtwar district on the 14th of August, leaving 61 people dead and more than 100 injured. The rescue and relief operation is going on war-footing basis at both Kathua and Kishtwar, with administration pressing into service all available resources for the job. The Weather Office have forecast light to moderate rainfall and thunder showers at many places, with intense showers or heavy rains at few places in Jammu division till the 19th of August. Government has also announced closure of schools for today across the Jammu division. In continuation with the relief operation at Kishtwar's Chishoti village, the troops of White Knight Corps have intensified rescue and relief efforts. Engineer bridging teams of the White Knight Corps, along with equipment, have started construction of bridge at the site of Chishoti Nala. This bridge will restore connectivity and help in speeding up evacuation in close coordination with civil agencies. Functionaries of Indian Army at various levels are monitoring the relief operations on the ground. Synergistic efforts in concert with civilians agencies is aimed at maximizing savings of lives and immediate provision of relief to those in need. And to get you the latest on this, I'm joined by DD India's Shabir Das from Srinagar. Good morning, Shabir. What is the latest situation there in Kishtwar and Kathua?
Yeah, good morning. The weather is playing a full spot in the rescue operations in Kishtwar because right now it is raining in Pada and Chishoti area, and that is definitely going to halt the rescue operations. But nevertheless, the army and the civil administration are on the job, and they are ensuring that the rescue operation goes in tandem with their efforts to provide relief and rehabilitation to the affected people. Similarly, we had just on the heels of Kishtwar incident, we had a very unfortunate cloudburst incident in Kutwa, a district where 7 people lost their lives in 2 separate incidents of flash floods and landslides in several villages of Kutwa. The authorities have pressed into service both men and machinery in both places, Kutwa and in Kishtwar. In Kutwa, the army helicopters ferried the injured to the hospitals in Jammu and in Udhampur. So similarly, in Kishtwar, which is a big disaster, which is a big incident where around 70 people are believed to have lost their lives and over 100 people are injured. 75 people are still missing, as per the family and the families of the victims. So the challenge for the authorities is to retrieve the bodies who are missing in the debris or who might have flown with the with the water. So now the families are pressing hard on the authorities to give them the whereabouts of their people who are missing, and authorities are finding it a bit difficult because given the fact that the topography of the area and now the inclement weather challenges are there. But now army has pressed into service the sniffer dogs, and the other challenges is that their big boulders had come over, towards the Chashoti village with the flash floods, and these big boulders are being broken by the controlled blasting by the Indian Army and civil administration. The rescue teams from both Indian Army, J&K Police, CRPF, CISF, and local volunteers are there, round the clock doing their rescue operation and ensuring that all the bodies who are still missing are retrieved at the earliest. And that is definitely going to give some sort of relief to the families, because the family members are demanding that they should know where their missing persons are, and authorities have this as a big task, as a big challenge for them to do the rescue operation immediately. After that, the relief and rehabilitation will definitely follow, as the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir and Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir have said that they will ensure that all the affected families will get their houses constructed by the administration. Similarly, we have seen in Kutwa how the swift action by the administration and by the Indian Army resulted in saving some 11 people who were injured, and they have been shifted to the hospitals. There also there is huge damage to both the physical infrastructure, including residential houses, the walls of local police station, and the Kendriya Vidyalaya school was damaged, and the highway connecting the national highway was also damaged at places. These 2 villages were cut off from there. Now the connectivity has been restored to such villages. But as the weather department has predicted, the rain is across Jammu region, and it is raining right now in areas of Padar and Chashoti and some areas of Kashtwa. The authorities are taking a lot of precaution and a lot of care to ensure that the rescue operations go on, while ensuring that there is no damage or no loss of further lives in these places.
All right, thank you so much, Abhirdar, for joining us and getting us the latest crux of the situation straight from Srinagar. And meanwhile, in Himachal Pradesh, multiple flash floods struck the North Indian state's Mandi district on Sunday, disrupting connectivity alongside the Mandi-Kulu stretch of the Chandigarh-Manali National Highway. The Chandigarh-Manali National Highway has been closed since Sunday afternoon, with continuous efforts underway to reopen the route. The highway is expected to be cleared by Monday noon. Meanwhile, the Mandi to Kullu route via Katwala is also blocked near Kannauj, leaving hundreds of vehicles and travellers stranded on both the sides. Now, authorities have cautioned that intermittent rainfall in the coming number of days may worsen the conditions and have urged people to avoid travel through vulnerable stretches. So as monsoon tightens its grip across India, the Indian Meteorological Department have issued red alert for Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Goa. Thunderstorms with lightning and gusty winds will continue over Jammu and Kashmir, Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, West Bengal, Sikkim and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands during the next couple of days. Meanwhile, India's national capital Delhi is also bracing for torrential weather conditions with heavy rainfall. And now let's get you an update on today's Parliament proceedings. The lower house of the Indian Parliament will hold a special discussion on Monday about India's space journey and the historic mission of Indian Air Force Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, who recently went to the International Space Station. The debate will focus on India's first astronaut aboard the ISS, critical role of space program for Viksit Bharat by 2047. Apart from other legislative businesses, two key bills, one of which is the Jan Vishwas Bill 2025 and the Indian Institutes of Management Bill 2025 will be introduced in the lower house, which is the Lok Sabha. While the upper house will take up the Indian Ports Bill 2025 for consideration and passing, the bill has already passed by the lower house, which is the Lok Sabha, on the 12th of August. And to get you more on this, I'm joined by ddindia correspondent from the Parliament, Dipendu Mondal. Good morning, Dipendu. Now, after that very short break, the houses are going to resume today with a very constructive debate, which is on the lines on Shubhanshu Shukla. Earlier, we also saw that how many of the hours were dedicated to Operation Sindoor. This clearly tells that this time the houses are really, moving forward with a clear intent and with many hot topics on the card, isn't it, Dipendu?
Well, Deepika, of course, this discussion will be absolutely crucial if it happens today on the floor of the House, in the lower house, because the opposition strategy still remains, to corner the government on the issue of SIR. Yesterday, we also saw a press conference from the Election Commission of India clarifying on the special intensive review of the electoral rolls in Bihar. But the opposition seems to be not satisfied with the ECI's response, and their strategy perhaps is to take it to the Parliament once again after this short recess, and also both on the floor of the House as well as outside Parliament. So it will be critical to see whether the debate on such an important issue of India's astronaut going to the International Space Station, coming back successfully, and also on India's mission of Gaganyaan, where India plans to send manned mission to the International Space Station, and also, how this will contribute to the Viksit Bharat of 2047. This is a very, very important discussion that needs to happen on the floor of the House. All political parties have been invited to take part in this discussion. But of course, if the House is not in order, it is, of course, the prerogative of the Speaker, whether, the Speaker would like to have the discussion despite the ruckus that is expected to be created by the opposition parties. But, it will be interesting to see how the Parliament functions once it resumes at 11 a.m., a short while from now. And, apart from that, Deepika, as well, there are multiple important bills that could, be passed in both the houses. But of course, the Jan Vishwas bill that we just showed is going to be referred to the select committee as per the agenda of the Lok Sabha's list of businesses. Because, this bill aims to do away with a lot of archaic laws. It needs to be referred to a select committee, where the select committee will monitor a large number of issues. The select committee will, of course, be nominated by the Lok Sabha Speaker, where there will be members from a lot of political parties that will give their opinion on the issue. And of course, from the Education Ministry, we'll have the Indian Institute of Management Amendment Bill, which could be perhaps passed in the lower house today, while the Indian Ports Bill is expected to be moved and passed in the upper house, which is the Rajya Sabha.
All right. Thank you so much, Dipendu, for joining us and bringing us the latest update on the Parliament proceedings. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi arrives in New Delhi on a two-day visit to India from Monday onwards. Member of the Politburo of the Communist Party of China and the Chinese FM is visiting India at the invitation of National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. During his visit, Wang Yi will hold the 24th round of the Special Representatives talks on the India-China boundary, questioned with India's Special Representative NSA Ajit Doval. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will also hold a bilateral meeting with his Chinese counterpart in New Delhi. The National Democratic Alliance on Sunday named Maharashtra's Governor C.P. Radhakrishnan as its candidate for the post of Vice President of India, weeks after Jagdeep Dhankar stepped down. The election is slated for the 9th of September. BJP President J.P. Nadda announced Radhakrishnan's candidature at a press conference in New Delhi.
राष्ट्रपति के प्रत्याशी के रूप में हमारे महाराष्ट्र के राज्यपाल श्री C.P. राधाकृष्णन जी, चंद्रपुरम पुन्नासामी राधाकृष्णन जी, उनको हम NDA का प्रत्याशी बनाएंगे.
The decision was announced after the BJP Parliamentary Board met earlier in the day to finalize the name, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah and other senior BJP leaders in attendance. Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised NDA candidate for vice presidential election, C.P. Radhakrishnan, for his extensive work at the grassroots. Sharing a photo with him on social media platform X, Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrote, and I quote him here, "In his long years in public life, Thiru C.P. Radhakrishnan ji has distinguished himself with his dedication, humility and intellect. During the various positions he has held, he is always focused on community service and empowering the marginalized. He has done extensive work at the grassroots in Tamil Nadu. I am glad that the NDA family has decided to nominate him as the vice presidential candidate of our alliance," unquote. So with proven leadership across diversified roles, C.P. Radhakrishnan brings rich political and administrative experience. C.P. Radhakrishnan is a seasoned Indian politician who began his career at the age of 16 in the year 1974, joining the Bharatiya Janata Sangh in Tamil Nadu. By the year 1996, he was the Tamil Nadu's BJP secretary, showcasing leadership. Then he was elected as the Coimbatore MP in 1998 and he won by over 150,000 votes, securing a re-election in the year 1999. In 2003, he addressed the United Nations on disaster relief. As Tamil Nadu BJP president in 2004, he led a 93-day Rath Yatra for social causes, though he lost the Lok Sabha election that year. In 2012, he protested RSS attack in action. From the year 2016 to 2020, as COE board chairman, he drove exports to 2,532 crore rupees. He also served as the governor of Jharkhand in the year 2023 and as Telangana's governor, Puducherry Lieutenant Governor in 2024, and at present he has been serving as the Governor of Maharashtra since the year 2024, and his focus there has been on education and tribal welfare. Moving on, with an aim to provide a collaborative and meritocratic environment for mathematics researchers from across the world, the Lodha Mathematical Sciences Institute was inaugurated in Mumbai on Sunday. The institute is supported through an endowment of nearly 20,000 crore rupees from Lodha family. Maharashtra Skill Development Minister Mangal Prabhat Lodha said that the initiative will benefit the entire nation as there will be a new start of good research and good innovation.
As we all know, mathematics is at the very root of all innovation in the world, whether it is cryptocurrency, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and a huge number of other areas. Those who do the innovation in math take advantage of developing it into technologies and thereafter capture a lion's share of the value creation.
And speaking at the launch, Abhishek Lodha, who is the Chief Executive Officer and the Managing Director of Lodha Developers, said that the institute is committed to fostering original thinking and innovation with a vision to emerge as one of the world's leading centers of excellence in mathematics. The institute will be headed by renowned mathematician Dr. V. Kumar Murthy. Dr. Murthy said the institute will build on India's rich mathematical legacy while addressing the nation's future needs.
We see ourselves here as mainly working upstream. That is, we benefit the researchers, and the researchers will go back and communicate that and involve their students. Every single innovation that we see in our modern world can be traced back to mathematical development. So therefore, it's like having stem cells. You know, you're strong in math, then you can specialize into many different things and you become good at that. So I think that's we're sort of right at the root of the whole process of innovation.
Now in Bangladesh, the interim government has given permission to import onions from Indian land ports to check spiral hikes in price. After a gap of 5.5 months, Bangladeshi importers got permission to import onion from India through the land port. The first consignment of 150 tons of onions arrived in Bangladesh from India on Sunday afternoon through the hilly land port in Dinajpur, according to a government official posted at the port. Another consignment of 660 tons of onions in 23 trucks arrived through the Sona Masjid land port on Sunday evening. With onion prices rising again in domestic markets, importers applied to the Ministry of Agriculture for approvals to resume the imports. Now, the Indian Embassy in New York celebrated India's 79th Independence Day by organizing the annual India Day Parade. At Times Square, the celebrations reflected India's vision of becoming a developed nation by its centenary of independence. The event showcased India's rapid progress in infrastructure, technology and digital transformation, underscoring the country's path towards prosperity, inclusivity and sustainability. The theme, Vikasit Bharat 2047, highlighted the aspirations of 1.4 billion Indians and the collective resolve to build a modern, self-reliant and globally leading nation. You're watching DD India News Hour, and now it's time to get you all the latest from the world of sports. To begin with badminton first. Indian shuttler Devika Sehwag claimed her first international challenge title by winning the women's singles event at the Malaysia International Challenger 2025. Devika was also a part of India's bronze medal winning team at the World University Games in Germany. She got the better of compatriot and fifth-seeded Isha Rani Barua in a final that lasted just 25 minutes. On her way to the title, Devika knocked out junior world number 1 Tasneem Mir, and in the early rounds, she cruised past Mexico's Cristina Perez. Sehwag's recent success follows her victory at the Senior National Badminton Championship in Bengaluru last year. In 2024, she also won the Swedish Open title and Portugal International crown. The stage is set in Cincinnati. World number 1 Jannik Sinner and Spanish sensation Carlos Alcaraz face off yet again in a final. Alcaraz and Sinner are ready to write another thrilling chapter in their careers. From Wimbledon to Cincinnati, their rivalry is rewriting the scripts of modern tennis. Let's take a look at what is in store for the Cincinnati Open final on Monday.
World number 1 Jannik Sinner will take on Carlos Alcaraz in the Cincinnati Open final after both advanced from their semi-finals in dominating fashion. Sinner overcame Francis Terence in straight sets, marking his 26th successive hard-court win and 12th straight victory overall. The opening set went into a tie-break, but the Italian held firm and never looked back. Alcaraz meanwhile battled past Alexander Zverev to book his 7th consecutive tour-level final. It followed a tough quarter-final against Andrei Rublev, where despite errors, the Spaniard held his nerve to prevail in 3 sets. In head-to-head, Alcaraz leads 8-5 on the ATP Tour with a 5-2 edge on hard courts. But Sinner's Wimbledon triumph showed his ability to flip the script. The final marks their 4th consecutive meeting in a tournament final clash. Sinner won their most recent encounter at Wimbledon, beating Alcaraz in 4 sets to capture his first grass court slam. Their rivalry has quickly become the centerpiece of men's tennis. This season alone, Sinner and Alcaraz have faced off in finals on 3 different surfaces, joining iconic rivalries like Nadal-Djokovic and Federer-Nadal in history. Another final, another battle for supremacy. The question remains, who takes Cincinnati? Sports Desk, DD India.
And in women's singles category, Iga Swiatek reached the final of the Cincinnati Open for the first time in her career with a victory over Alina Rybakina. Rybakina took an early lead. However, the Wimbledon champion won 10 of the last 13 games to secure a 4th straight victory against Rybakina. Swiatek has now reached the final in 3 of her last 4 tournaments played. She will face 7th-seed Jasmine Paolini in the final as she seeks an 11th career WTA 1000 title. Paolini reached the final after claiming a hard-fought victory against Russia's Veronika Kudermetova. In athletics, reigning world champion Neeraj Chopra has confirmed his place in men's javelin throw event at the Diamond League 2025 final in Zurich, Switzerland. With 15 points from 2 Diamond League appearances this season, double Olympic medalist Neeraj Chopra sealed his qualification for the finale. The men's javelin final to decide the champion of the Diamond League will take place on 28th of August. The Indian star has been in fine form this year. Neeraj won the Paris leg with a throw of 88.16 meters after producing a record-breaking 90.23 meters throw in Doha, where he finished second behind Germany's Julian Weber. And before we let you go, here are some amazing visuals as the Thailand Biennial Phuket 2025 nears. Vibrant colors of creativity continue to spread across Phuket, transforming the island into a living gallery. From the unique Pian Phu Pat mascots to the inspiring works of over 90 artists, every artwork tells a special story. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika and from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.